Alright guys, welcome to Tiny Bunny. Apparently it's a horror visual novel, and I just discovered it on Steam and I was just kind of curious about it, because you know me guys, visual novels and me, we always work well together, more often than not. And the fact that it's horror is also a plus in my book, so honestly I don't know much else about this game. I just wanted to give it a shot because it's one of the few horror VNs I've yet to try out, so I'm curious and I'm a little concerned, but as per usual, that comes with the territory with these types of games. So if anything else guys, let's do this. Pray for me. The wind clawed at my window all night long. It wandered the fields and howled like a hungry beast. An endless song weaved from all sorts of voices, shrill, gentle, sneery, twined in the air. They were shouting and laughing, and arguing about something. Someone was running through the snow while casting long shadows that would occasionally creep close to my bed. Our house has a mind of its own, the creaky old mind of a building that had seen a lot in its days, and was seemingly trying to share its wisdom with the inhabitants. The lonely house faced the forest, and the dark green thicket glazed back with its hollow eyes, rustling, whizzing, swaying back and forth. One could come out and stand at the edge of the forest to reassure themselves there was nobody behind the crooked trees. Fuzzy silhouettes swaying in the wind couldn't possibly do any harm. It's just a play of light and shadow. Just a play. I knew it was just my imagination. I was already 12 after all. Still. I see the background of the wolf there. I see you. Episode 1. The Owl Will Arrive.
Убери книгу немедленно! Сколько раз говорила, не читай за столом, вредно. Сидишь, сутулился весь.
Oh wait, I can hide? Any other choices I got? I like the art style already too. I didn't protest and put the book about Conan the Barbarian aside. I was stuck on a line I couldn't understand after reading it 3 times anyway. Olia had already finished her breakfast and was munching on some cookies. She was so enthusiastic she almost looked like your typical girl from commercials.
Пока не съешь, из-за стола не встанешь.
I, on the other hand, was still trying to drill a hole in the plate with my eyes, as if it would make the porridge disappear. Hazy anxiousness welled up inside, all because of the previous sleepless night, the black forest around our house and the gloomy wind. The longer I waited, the colder the lumpy white substance became. It looked like a jellyfish from the Costio Odyssey. I love that show. I wonder how horrifying the bottom of the ocean is. Oh boy, I'm fairly certain it's very terrifying. Or how cold the black forest is at night. The spoon fell out of my hand.
Что я говорила?
Я достану.
I had 10 seconds to catch my breath before battling the nasty porridge once again. I felt around for the spoon. What is this carved on the other side of the table? Karina. Huh, that's my mom's name. I guess she carved it out with the something pointy when she was little. She sure was a rascal, damaging the furniture like that. She would scold me for a week if I did something similar though. Should I remind her about it? Nah, she's been in a bit of a bad mood lately. I imagine her being my age, sitting under this table. I wonder, was Mom afraid of the dark back then? Or the sounds coming from the attic? Or the thick forest? You know, it's a bad combo. Sounds coming from the attic, the thick forest, the gloomy atmosphere, everything about it just screams, don't live there. I imagine my grandma coming into my little mom's room, sitting at the edge of her bed where Olia sleeps nowadays, and saying this in her soft, smooth voice.
Тайга — особое место, дитятка. Она к тебе присматривается, принюхивается.
That's not comforting in the least bit, ma'am.
Словно хочет понять, что ты за зверь такой. Понравишься, в беде не бросит. А будешь проказничать, схватит за бочок и утащит с собой под землю. Тут и дело с концом.
Grandma was caring. She never fought with anybody, never yelled, never swore. Those were the times without the maddening screams until late at night, without smashed dishes and mutual accusations. Our parents used to love each other back then. I remember listening in one of their conversations by chance. They were talking about Grandma getting prepared for her funeral. She had already bought a casket, and she called it her cute funeral box. It waited for its time in the closet, patiently. It was black, upholstered with meat-colored materials on the inside. I saw it when my grandma was getting buried. The house didn't change since the last time she was alive. Only all of the photos were gone. And by the way, the fact that she faded out like that was pretty creepy. Glass-covered pictures with grave faces of my ancestors. They all had a dead but watchful look in their eyes. I crawled out from under the table. Olia was done with her cookies and was looking at my share like a sly woodland critter. I turned my gaze toward the frosted window. I missed that one. Hold on. Can we backlog? Oh, that scared me. Holy crap. Alright. The cookies, turned my gaze toward the frosted window. There were a lot of dark pines outside, but they didn't grab my attention. The pattern of frost formed a picture on the glass. Okay. We're back on point.
Оля, гляди, лиса!
You know, I'm so used to playing visual novels that are in Japanese that Russian is a nice change of pace. It threw me off for a bit though. And this wolf here. This wolf. Don't think I don't see you, buddy.
Где?
It looked almost like those optical illusion thingies they put in the back of student notebooks. A mixture of lines at first glance, but if you blur your vision a little bit and look under a certain angle.
Да не на улице, на стекле. Смотри, вот нос, вот.
Ну-ка, доедай.
Да, да, сейчас. Я ничего не вижу.
Живо. Совсем немного осталось.
А, вот. Но все равно не похоже. А я говорю, похоже. Не-а. Похоже.
Прекратите! Ну что за дети?
Now I couldn't see the fox either. It disappeared. That was a wolf. Went away. Only the frosty pattern similar to stretched out nettle leaves kept creeping up the glass. My dad entered the kitchen with long measured steps. I want to have a beard like his when I grow up. Mom would always ask jokingly, "Come on, shave it off, it stings." This was so long ago. Nowadays, rumbling doors and witty comebacks were an everyday occurrence. Olia always covers her ears whenever she hears something like, "What's the point in all this?" through the wall. "It's all for your sake," Dad would reply, "for the sake of our family." I always caught every sound in fear of hearing the most dreaded, the deadliest word that started with a D. Devor. I don't even want to finish it. It was scary to imagine that me and my little sister could be torn apart and taken into two different
Да
families.
что твоя лиса? Вот у меня на окне сова.
Опять ты со своей совой.
Так ты же вчера мне верил.
Никто ключи от машины не видел? Вроде оставлял на подоконнике.
Вроде. Вроде оставлял, вроде нет. Вроде взрослый мужчина, отец двоих детей, а вроде...
Перестань, пожалуйста, Карина. Дай мне спокойно собраться.
В корзине твои ключи, возле телефона.
Огромное тебе человеческое спасибо. Антон, ешь быстрее, а то как мученик сидишь.
А сова?
Не было там никакой совы.
Была. Глазюки огромные. Во, и светятся.
Olia sprung up from the chair and placed her hands on her little face, imitating a pair of eyes with her fingers, the size of an apple each.
В прошлом году бабай в шкафу. Сейчас сова?
Но я же видела.
Olia shifted her gaze back and forth from Dad to Mom to me, but couldn't find any support.
А ты не думала подружиться с ней, нет?
Why? That's bad advice, Dad.
Вымышленными мышами покормить, например.
Не подначивай ребенка. Просто мала еще, и спать одна боится.
Olia pouted her lips in rebellion and rushed into the hallway. The staircase that led to the second floor creaked. Mom gave Dad a strict look. Oh, that look in her eyes. It's so uncomfortable to be pinned under it. Dad just snored in reply and left, ringing with the keys he just found. A minute had passed and the theme song from The Little Mermaid echoed through the house. It was stored on an incredibly worn-out cassette tape, which Dad had already had to glue together once. It's so easy to fix objects by gluing them back together, for example. But how do you fix a relationship? Mom moved to the living room and I was left alone, anxiously stealing glances at the window. Olia had trouble sleeping ever since we moved to this house. She would toss and turn or curl up into a ball under her blanket. Sometimes she would jump up in the middle of the night and turn on the VCR. Cartoons helped to take her mind off all the troubles we had with the move and our parents. Oh, what the hell? And then Olia said she saw that giant flying monster outside her window. She became obsessed with it. Our parents did everything in their power. They tried every little trick to get rid of those ridiculous fears. Olia refused to sleep alone and didn't believe that the owl was just one of her nightmares. After last night, I was unsure what to make of my sister's words, but to think of it myself. Can nightmares be infectious? That night, I couldn't get a wink of sleep and ended up thinking of what to expect from my new school. There were a couple of days left before the beginning of a new term. My imagination drew long twisting hallways that led to a classroom full of kids, but all the students behind their desks were simply dark figures, cut out using a template. Did I hear a door creaking? Circular holes gaped in the middle of their faces and pairs of eyes blinked inside those holes. It was as if some completely different creatures were looking at me from behind the flat black silhouettes. Their cruel glares, filled with icy sneers, made me shiver from head to toe. Will I survive here? Won't they gang up on me and beat me down? Stomp on me with their bloody shoes? The damn school can burn for all I care. I just wish for anything to happen to it. It doesn't really matter what. I didn't want to go there that badly. I didn't want to see people who are just itching to smack me on the head, trip me up, think of a new offensive name for me, worse than the previous one. I heard it. I definitely heard it. Is that Michael Jackson? And there's a cat here. I like that. Can we? No, we can't click on it. I felt like the glasses I wore made me an outsider, some sort of monster. And I freaking did it again. Hold on. My gaze slid across the drawings hanging on the walls. I couldn't consider myself a great artist, but Olia begged me to hang them. Drawing was the only thing that made me happy as of late. The small circle of friends I had also enjoyed my paintings, and they promised to call me from time to time. Sometimes I imagined Mom picking up the phone and saying in a cold voice, "You've got the wrong number." Or, "Anton is not around. Anton is not around." I imagine my future classmates lying in their beds just like me, listening to the howls of invisible werewolves outside their windows. What is with that creaking? I wouldn't be able to sleep like this, man. Maybe my new classmates will like me after all. But who will ever like a boy with thick glasses? Ah, dude, there's nothing wrong with wearing thick glasses, man. You're fine. I mean, my dad used to wear glasses when he was little, and now he's married to the most beautiful woman on the planet, my mom. The house creaked, pressed by the wind. The condo we used to live in, a 9-floor concrete building, buzzed with the neighbor's drill, mumbled with a TV set from behind the wall, cried like a baby from the big family next door. Our current house, though I can't really call it new, was completely different. It was silent and easy, going during the day. Its shadows lay dormant in the corners and the closet cobwebs and under the stairs. But they all woke up during the night. Something was watching me from every corner, almost as if the old photos of my deceased family, with their ashen eyes, were hanging on the walls in place of my drawings. That's creepy. The floor was squeaking. Rusty drains were moaning. The attic was occupied by noisy drafts. One could think the house was performing some sort of demonic melody. And then I realized I was, in fact, hearing music. It was already playing for a good while. Ah, damn it. That's not what I want to do. Ah, continue. And then I realized hearing music. Okay, somewhere at the edge of my perception I could hear a flute. It was mixed in with the sound of the wind of the creaking old house, in my thoughts too. I stood up and rushed to the window. I wanted to reassure myself that the music was nothing more than a product of my imagination. Well, if you can hear it and you want to rush to the window, or even the door, that tells you something. It's not like someone is playing there amidst a cold snowy night, right? Oh, crap. Oh, what the hell's going on there? Are they dancing or fighting? Someone was dancing in the field. Black silhouettes I could barely make out, with the dark forest as their backdrop. They jumped around, basked in moonlight, bumped into piles of snow, rolled around and crawled on all fours. Stories about wolves playing under the moon came to mind, but these were clearly not wolves. Oh, one of them looks like one. They stood upright at times, circled around holding hands and whipping up snow, disappearing into the shadows for a brief moment and then coming back. Something bizarre was going on. Shadows dancing in the starless abyss made my imagination go wild, making me anxious at the same time. Uh-oh. Suddenly the music had stopped. The dancing shadows froze in place, and I could swear pierced me with their eyes. One of the silhouettes immediately parted from the bizarre shadow carnival and sprinted across the field with giant leaps. Oh, I don't like that. It glided on squeaky snow without leaving any print until it was devoured by the pitch black shadow of my house, which became even darker and thicker. My heart was jumping around like the bird inside a cage. I shut the curtains with a swift motion and stepped back toward the bed. Smart kid, smart kid. They saw me. A freezing torrent of fear washed over me. I stood in the middle of a perfectly dark room and listened to some unwanted guest move and scrape around, looking for an entrance. Look at this, it's blinking. I don't like it. The sound moved to the right, then circled around the house. Now my guest should be at the front door. I jumped into the bed and covered myself with the blanket as if it could protect me. The shackles of fear locked my muscles. I remembered the funeral, my grandma lying there, hands crossed on her chest, her facial features sharp like that of a tin doll. Ants running up and down the legs of chairs that held my grandma's casket. I imagined those little creatures climbing up her head and pulling up her eyelids with their tiny legs. Then her wrinkly eyeballs would once again move inside their sockets and she'd be able to see her grandchildren. I was chanting the spell she taught me throughout the whole procedure.
На острове Буяне, в синем океане, стоит домовина, в ней сало и глина, волосы седые, чертям еда, раба Божьего Антона не тронут никогда.
Let's see, can we see the thingy backlog? Okay, she taught me. And now, lying under the blanket and listening to the squeaks and howls, I was repeating the same words. Okay. Stop doing that. Stop doing that. There you go.
Бесы забудут дорогу к дому. Мертвый к мертвому, швой к швому.
Bizarre sounds had disappeared. I cautiously peeked out from under the blanket and saw curtains waving around like a hanged man. And then the night doused me with a new portion of boiling terror. The sound scratched at my eardrums. In reality, something or someone were scratching at the front door, hurriedly clawing at wood, demanding to be let in. The door was shut. Dad had become very cautious recently, so he installed a sturdy lock. I remember him staring at the force intently as if he was looking for someone.
Мертвое к мертвому, живое к живому.
I hugged my knees, placing my chin between them, and drilled the door with my eyes. It was so flimsy and weak before the might of darkness. And then... oh crap. The doorknob twitched slightly. Then it turned halfway, once, twice, as if the person who tried to enter had no hands. The doorknob tilted once more and then started clicking violently. My jaw cramped from fear. My wet fingers clutched the blanket. Why is your fingers wet? The door creaked and opened. The wind taunted me, moaning inside the tin drains. I thought your dad added a lock. This is useless. Now, you'll see. The door was wide open. Oh, yo, I see you. I see that eye. The darkness writhed inside the carnivorous mouth of the doorway. Nope. Nope. It was as if the night itself was calling out to me, flapping its black wings and squeaking with rusty hinges. I was trembling, ensnared by the web of darkness that hung in the corners of my room, waiting for the one who weaved it to come out of the gaping black hole. That's not me. My abdomen tightened and my chest rose up, ready to exhale in a desperate scream. But before I was able to do anything, the darkness asked me,
Ты спишь тоже?
Sis, you want to go back to your room because there's an eye above you. I see it right here, sis. Right here. My sister's pale face protruded from the thick shadows. I almost screamed from relief.
Оля, я не сплю. Что случилось?
Olia frowned and stuck out her lower lip, a clear sign that she was about to cry.
Оно опять прилетело
shit, staring at me too. Look at this! That's disturbing.
Прогони ее, Тоша! Прогони, пожалуйста!
Oh, that's his nickname, Tosha. Okay. Can we, like, throw a book at it? Like,
Я так боюсь!
The fear that was tormenting me just a minute ago crawled away and hid somewhere in my stomach. I needed to calm Olia down.
Это был сон, глупая. Не пугайся. Сны не кусаются. Никто тебя не обидит.
Olia sobbed. She was trying her best to believe me. But was I sure myself? Not with that eye staring right at us, guy.
У меня есть идея. А пойдем к тебе в комнату, видик посмотрим. Спящую красавицу, например. Тебе же нравится этот мультик? Почему у спящей красавицы принца у меня эта страшная птица?
That question took me by surprise.
Ладно, давай посмотрим Золушку.
My thoughts became tangled, fuzzy. What was that? What studied me with its eyes while dancing feverishly under the moon? The darkness was clinging to the window, and it couldn't be fooled by Grandma's old chants. It couldn't be satisfied with a feast of lard and long ashen hair.
Тоша, ты идешь? Да, сейчас.
Holy crap! Oh my god. What the hell was that? God damn. Ah. I'm gonna need a minute. What the hell was that? Oh. Whew, that was something else. That's why I didn't want to laugh at Olia and her owl in the morning. Who could be visiting us here in the middle of nowhere? We don't know anyone around here. So persistent. I felt extremely unsettled just from a silly thought that our morning guest could have come from the woods. I could barely hear voices coming from the front door. My mind was urging me to hide. In the closet, under the table, behind the curtains where Olia always hides.
Тоша, подойди-ка сюда.
I felt like kettlebells were tied to my feet but still dragged them toward the hallway. A couple of policemen towered over me in the doorway. They smelled like frost and worry. My mom always winced and grumbled the moment she saw patrol cars, worse than bandits. At the moment, though, she looked somewhat confused.
Здравствуйте.
The senior officer, who wore a grim expression, nodded.
Тут мальчик вчера потерялся. Вовой зовут. Глянь, пожалуйста. Ты его не видел?
The policeman held out a photograph to me. There was a ginger boy around the age of elementary school, pictured with a wall carpet as the backdrop. He had a striped cat in his hands and wore a wide smile.
Нет.
Точно? Посмотри внимательнее.
I gotta say, I am loving this art style, though. Really clear, really. Look at this. Beautiful. Now, if it wasn't for the fact that I just recently got freaked out by a giant-ass wolf, I'd be appreciating it a lot more.
Где мне его видеть? Я тут никого не знаю, да и из дома-то почти не выхожу.
А может, видел в окно?
Unless he was one of the little beasts from the window, then sure. Otherwise, no.
Да, у тебя ведь окна на лес.
The window.
Нет, не видел.
Ясно.
Oh, damn, I triple-clicked, man. Ah, hold on, backlog. That's the last stuff I went over. Okay. He sounded tired, but his eyes, his stare, long and heavy, was full of suspicion. I squirmed unwittingly under the weight of the guilt which his giant shadow cast over me. The policeman finally tore his eyes from me and glanced over the hallway, the stairway, and the cracks in the ceiling, which I haven't noticed before for some reason.
Вы, кстати, как на новом месте? Попривыкли уже?
Понемногу, только вот дочка маленькая по городу скучает.
Скучает, значит. Из местных вас никто не беспокоит?
Все хорошо, спасибо.
The policeman pierced through me one more time with his brown eyes. My head started spinning.
Может, вам помочь как-то?
I asked that in a shaky voice to look like a polite boy and to end this unpleasant conversation sooner.
Я вот стою и думаю,
Ты, малец, на племеша моего похож. Шустрый парнишка твоих лет, с такими же окулярами. Все книжками зачитывался, детективами. Когда летом погостить приезжал, говорит, что в школу милиции мечтает поступить. Как я, хотел людям помогать. Смекаешь?
I felt uncomfortable, as if a distant relative and not a police officer stood before me.
Ох, ребятушки, сидите-ка вы лучше дома. Не ввязывайтесь ни во что. Жизнь сейчас совсем другая пошла.
Mom interjected in a cold voice.
Мне ли не знать?
Ну да ладно. Ты, Антон, в каком классе учишься?
В 6-м.
Друзей-то на новом месте еще не завел?
Пока нет. Я только после каникул в школу пойду.
Тогда вот вам на всякий случай мой номер. Звоните, если узнаете что.
The policemen were gone along with their shadows, the smell of cheap cologne and the photo of a smiling boy. His face still stood before my eyes. I wondered what it was like for him, being all alone there. For some reason, I thought of the forest swaying in the wind. What did his poor parents feel? And what would my parents do if I'd gone missing? Would they cry and thrash around hysterically? Or would they accuse each other like they always do and forget about me eventually?
Мам, а Вова этот в нашем лесу заблудился?
Выходит, что так. Бедный ребенок.
I looked out the window at the road. The police UAZ drove off toward the village. The officer's nephew came to mind when I was splitting off old paint from the windowsill. I remembered all the teenage mystery novels from the Black Kitty series I read this summer. Can I click that? No. Your average boys and girls investigate all sorts of mysteries there. They look for clues, spied on suspicious people. And after a set of amazing adventures, bam! Solved any complicated case. They became local celebrities and must have made their parents very proud. I noticed a trail of policemen's footprints that led to the forest. And then it clicked in my head. Why don't I start an investigation of my own? Because you're just alone and you don't want to do this with your sister, and most importantly of all, you don't want to go missing or possibly turn into one of them. Maybe I'll find that lost boy, and I'll get a reward. Olia would be so happy. And not only Olia, Mom and Dad too. Maybe they'll even forget about their quarrels for a while. Maybe I'll even save us from the D word. I fantasized about buying Olia a Tamagotchi and getting a cassette player and a bunch of tapes for myself. And a whole bunch of Kinder Surprise. When was the last time my parents bought us any toys? Last autumn, I think. My dad had lost his job at the time. That's the annoying song about it. I had a little to no idea what was the accountant's job like. They count money, I think. Neighbors used to envy us. But nowadays, Mom and Dad barely had money to afford sweets, and Dad would always divide a single chocolate bar between me and Olia. Sometimes I gave her my share too. No matter how much I wanted to eat sweets, she was still just a pipsqueak. I couldn't wait to go out looking for clues.
Пойду погуляю.
Oh man, you poor stupid child.
Ага, сейчас.
Ah, good. Mother, you tell him.
Чтобы потом милиционеры с твоей фотографией по домам ходили. Лес вон какой густой. А если мальчика звери дикие утащили? Или того хуже?
Even worse, echoed through the hallway.
Да я рядом буду. В лес не пойду.
Что я тебе сказала? Мне дважды повторять? Лучше портфель собери или соли поиграй.
The sound of splashing water came from the kitchen. It meant that the argument was over and Mom had the last word. Oh, okay, I wasn't expecting this. What's this indicate? This cross had seen so many people come and go in this house. It was black as if it absorbed all human sin from the long years it was hanging under the ceiling. After Grandma died, Mom was going to take it off and hang a horseshoe in its place as a lucky charm. But she cut herself with the cross sharp corner and almost fell from the stepladder. Dad called it a sign from above and ordered the cross to be left alone in its rightful place. Alright, we're going to save here, because who knows what's going to happen. There was nothing to overwrite. Okay. Let's talk to Mom one last time. Lie to Mom. Uh-oh. Let's open the fridge. What we got? What? Grandma kept ice cream for me and Alia there, but now I could only see meat bits for soup and clumped together pelmeni. I grew to hate them already. Anything else here? No? Turn back. We won't talk to you yet. Not yet. I'll turn back. We'll go to open this. The dark stuffy closet. Mom says it smells like mice, but how would she know their smell? She hates when I stick my nose in there. She's afraid I'll cut myself with the freshly sharpened axe. And Alia can't even be lured close to it. She thinks Baba is living there. I tried to help her fight her fears once. I opened the door and turned on a damp lamp so she would see there was nothing but cobwebs, dad's tools, and scratched walls. She still didn't believe me. And I like to hide in the closet and listen to Alia count outside. 1, 2, 3, better hide from me. And then drag her feet on the creaking floorboards, hoping that she wouldn't need to look for me in the cramped monster's den. Okay, front yard.
Антон, сейчас ремня получишь. Ни шагу за порог.
Okay, it's time to lie. It was difficult to lie to Mom, but there was no other way for me to run away from home.
Мам, там что-то с телевизором случилось. Картинка какая-то тусклая, и экран весь в полосах.
Mom's face became visibly distorted.
Без ножа меня режешь. Дострелялся в уток своих. Говорила же, посадите мне кинескоп своей приставкой. Где мы теперь мастера найдем в дыре этой, а?
Может быть, просто настройки сбились? Сходи, посмотри, пожалуйста.
Нормально же работал с утра.
Из-за снегопада, наверное, неполадки.
Mom rubbed her hands, cleaned on her apron, and went to Alia's room. Alright, I guess we're gonna die today. I opened the front gate and went to the field, carefully so Mom wouldn't see me from the window. When I crossed half of the distance toward the forest, the snow piles became as high as my knees. I remembered my nightly fears. I saw those silhouettes around here. They were jumping around, holding hands. The hypnotizing music started playing in my head all on its own. In the light of day, those distant figures felt like a simple dream. And I did it again. The sun turned my nightmares to ash, but the aftertaste was still there, distant ringing in my ears, distorted shadows crawling on the snow alongside me, and a barely audible whisper in my head, blurry and almost kind. Oh, look at this! I like these little effects that this BN has to offer. Everything was silent. So silent, I felt like the world was totally empty. No ground, no sky, no parents, no Alia. The time reached its limit, a one-way trip that ended at the forest's piney stockade. Sometimes silence was much scarier than any scream. Our parents would scream at each other while arguing, and both me and Alia turned to stone listening to them. But then always came the ringing silence. Our apartment became numb a couple of days before we departed. It was hard to remember the last time Mom and Dad joked around, laughing, or spent time together. Almost like all of it was in a previous life. When they kissed with Alia present, she always frowned and snorted in a funny way. But one day, it all changed. Something important had left our home, and something scary filled the remaining void. It was as if a fire broke out, and our parents were hurriedly packing our belongings, trying to save themselves and us. From who, though? From the people with dead cold eyes, who sometimes visited us in our previous home? The eyes that only saw balls of worms in the black ground and everything? And somewhere far away, a siren was going off, trying to warn us of the coming menace. Wow. Okay, you know what? Those are some thick glasses. In fact, I'm not even worried about the thickness of it. I'm talking about the lens. Magnified. I shuddered, chasing away my delusions, and looked around. There were only me, this white field, and the wind that was whipping up icy dust and belts of powdered snow. I squinted from the sun and turned my eyes to the sunless forest. It looked especially dark in contrast with the blinding whiteness. Knobby tree roots slithered under the snow like fat snakes. Rotten leaves and coniferous needles froze into place. Oh, is this a glove? Dry, prickly branches intertwined, bringing up uncomfortable thoughts about fences. Were they protecting the forest? Or were they keeping something from breaking out? Some object was hanging from one of the pointy branches. I tried to get closer, drowning in snow. When I almost got to the edge of the forest, I saw a knitted mitten. It looked like a wounded bird among the hungering semidark. Should I take it to the police? Their senior officer looked gloomy, but he still reminded me of Captain Casanova from my favorite TV show called The Streets of Broken Lights. He was also always anxious, with a tired look in his eyes, but still brave and strong. Bova! I heard a distant shout. Looked like it came from the river. Ah, crap, it's leading me away. Uh-oh. As if the trees were calling out to someone. Vova! Resounded closer to me. Someone was standing there behind the trees, hiding. I knew someone was looking for the lost boy, but still, something was unsettling about that figure. Alright, let me see if I see it here. No, still nothing. Its stillness, how it was bent unnaturally toward the ground. Its blackness. There's no one there, just branches and roots. Why don't the officers go in there? How about that? Why us? Why me? It's all just my imagination. A nearby bird flapped its wings loudly. Oh, hell no. A shadow split from the tree and disappeared from my sight. I looked away for just a moment, but when I turned my gaze back to the same place, it was gone. So it was my imagination after all. Silence reigned for a painfully long time. Oh, this thing's gonna pop up and freak the crap out of me, watch. My muscles were tightly sprung. My heart was beating somewhere in my throat. Any noise, any little movement, any small whisper from the thicket and I'd sprint. But nothing of the sort happened. I looked at the mitten once more. Oh, I hate my life. I hate it so much. Why? Why do this to me, game? Well, there's nothing to overwrite. It's a clear save. Get the glove. I decided to take the lonely mitten from the branch. Oh, hell no. Oh, crap. Vova! A shout rumbled across the field and dissolved into the distance. No echo. No hope for a reply. Why couldn't you just run and take it and then run back home? I stepped toward the bristly trees and tried to claim my find. It didn't budge. I pulled harder, the branch cracked and the mitten tore off, landing in my hand with a squishy sound. All too heavy, wet. I squeezed it without thinking, and something dark spilled from it, forming a tiny string between the mitten and the snow. Ah, crap. Blood. I froze in place, studying my palms in disgust. Don't freeze in place! Ah, steam rose from the snow pile. Red. The sound of cracking branches invaded the silence. Get out of there, kid. I didn't have to think twice before running away. Someone was chasing me from the darkness, breaking pine branches, closing the distance with giant leaps. Snow was slowing me down. Crazy thoughts flew through my mind. I'll get caught. They'll get me. I'll get dragged into the thicket. I'll be gone forever. But there was one more voice, probably one reason. A reason. It gave me strength, spurred me on. You can do it. Don't stop. I heard an animal roar behind me. It was so loud my ears went numb. I felt like the sound had come from a pack of hungry beasts, rather than a single one. Their nostrils sucked in freezing air. They sensed my fear. 2 giant wings flapped above my head. An enormous shadow flew over the clearing. A hoot, a wheeze. A giant owl? The roars were coming from all directions now. From the dried up raspberry bush, from twisted pines, from under the windfall. Hurry, run! Don't look back! It felt like I was inside a nightmare. The snowy clearing became viscous like quicksand. I was stuck in place. I pulled my leg from the mushy trap just to be caught in a new one, even deeper than before. I continued to drown, sinking deeper and deeper with every desperate push. Was snow ever this sticky? I screamed in horror after realizing this wasn't snow. Someone or something in the snow pile was clutching my pants. I gathered all my strength and rushed forward. The pressure on my leg was gone. My boots slipped out of the hole and my soles were on the hard surface again. I reached the clear path with one jump and from there ran to my house. Its gloomy facade didn't look threatening now. That house was my line of defense from the shadows that flapped their wings and the creatures that were hidden under the snow. I tripped over this doorstep and smashed into the door. In all my hurry, I still managed to notice the claw marks, as if a dog was striking the wood with its paws, demanding to be let in so it could escape the code. I hadn't noticed these marks when I was leaving. The heartbeat in my ears was louder than my surroundings. I couldn't hear whether someone was following me or not. What if they were already in our front yard and Mom had locked the door? Man, you almost made me regret going for that glove. I rolled into the hallway and shut the door behind me. Porch planks creaked as my pursuers ascended the stairs. My finger slipped off the lock and I couldn't click it into place. I gritted my teeth and pulled hard on an iron knob, whipping it between the boards. I stared blankly at the door. Someone was standing on the other side of the pitiful, flimsy barrier that was probably less useful than blankets. Wheezing breath reached into the house and crashed at me in waves. It smelled of pine and sweat. Mom peeked out of the kitchen and chastised me with the same frigid voice she always used when talking to Dad.
Что конкретно тебе не ясно в просьбе не хлопай дверьми?
Я случайно.
I snuck a glance at the door. The smell was gone, and the breath was too. If there was someone in the first place. Of course. Here, mere 5 meters away from Mom, my fear was slowly weakening, melting like snow in spring, and with its last bit of strength, I had left my body too. My legs gave way. I propped myself up against the wall so I wouldn't fall over. Mom's expression had changed immediately. The cold mask of strictness and detachment was gone. Mom looked the same as before all those quarrels. She finally saw my condition, my wet pants, plastered with snow.
Ты где был? Я тебе что говорила, а? Чтобы ты дома сидел. Я и для тебя пустое место.
I got afraid she would cry. I reached out to her like when I was little and wanted her to cuddle me. But Mom regained her composure fast and put on her usual face. Her eyes shined like steel. Her voice rang out.
У отца сигареты пропали. Признавайся, ты их стащил? Курить бегаешь?
Там за мной кто-то гнался. Я думал, меня...
I stuttered as soon as I started explaining myself. Tears welled up in my eyes. Mom leaned toward me and sniffed my clothes like a beast, searching for the smell of tobacco. Then she squinted her eyes in suspicion and looked into the front yard. Her expression changed in an instant, and she covered her mouth with her hand.
Гляди, вон же они. Прямо у забора.
My heart started thumping as if I became prey once again and my pursuers were following me in the field. I could swear that I've heard something scratch the door just like in my nightmare. Mom beckoned me with her finger and I gathered all my remaining bravery to look into the kitchen window, facing my fear. Oh. I could barely discern some hairy silhouettes swimming in snow through the icy winter patterns of the glass. Dogs. Just a small pack of strays with no name and owner, barely reminding of the hungry monsters that live on the edge of the forest.
Божечки, ты их испугался? Да они сами тебя перепугаются, Антон.
Они гнались за мной, словно за зайцем. А вдруг они бешеные?
The smile had slowly disappeared from Mom's face. Now she looked at the dogs as if it were her first time seeing them.
Что если они нападут на Олю?
Мам,
Вот бы твой отец их всех перестрелял.
мама, они живые.
А что? Ты уж определись, они тебе друзья или враги? Не маленький ведь уже.
Mom sighed in annoyance, and I felt so bitter that I bit my lower lip and fixed my gaze in the cobweb-rating corner just to keep myself from crying. Whoop, some detective I am. In reality, I wasn't risking my life among monsters, but rather my pants among a pack of stupid strays. And what for? What use do I have for this? Mitten. Of course. A dark and sticky mitten that belonged to the lost boy made a squishy sound in my hand. Seems like I was clutching it the whole time. That's my trump card as a detective. I hurried to present this clue to my mom.
Мам, смотри, это Вовина варежка. Ну того, про которого утром милиция спрашивала. Она вся в крови, на дереве висела. Вон там, могу показать. Давай в милицию скорее позвоним, как нас участковый просил. Мам, гляди!
Фу!
A shadow of doubt slowly crept onto Mom's contorted face, as if she was trying to remember something distant, like someone tries to remember their dream, but the images slip away.
А ну-ка прекрати сейчас же. Оля тебя услышит, с ума сойдет. Она и так не спит, на все подряд жалуется. Еще и ты со своими шуточками.
At that moment, I realized the mitten was actually wet from snow. There was no blood whatsoever. I wanted to sink through the floor from embarrassment,
Иди сюда, паникер. Да не стой столбом. Вот, таблетку на. Быстро пей.
Oh, they give him medication? A golden-colored pill reminiscent of a dead wasp fell into my palm.
Я уже пил сегодня, за завтраком.
Попререкайся мне еще. Сказала дома сидеть, нет же. Был бы отец, выпорол. Сейчас же выпей, а то ночью не уснешь. Тебе ведь в школу завтра.
So I had to swallow the bitter medication, drinking it down with similarly awful water that gave off a taste of chlorine. Maybe it wasn't Volva's mitten. Maybe it wasn't a mitten at all. Just like the forest monsters. And Alia's owl. Am I going mad? Uh-oh. What's happening to me? Either the pill had an immediate effect, or my over-exaggerated brain didn't let fear inside anymore. Serenity washed over me, bringing yawning indifference along with it.
Антон, выпил? Можешь, если захочешь.
Wonder if the parents are drugging you just so that you wouldn't be so curious.
Раздевайся. Уснул, что ли?
Нет, мам, просто задумался.
Интересно, о чем же?
Так, глупости всякие.
Mom scrutinized me with suspicious eyes, as if she wasn't sure she was looking at her own son and not some doppelganger that came from the forest.
Точно все нормально? У тебя такое лицо было, когда милиционер про окно спросил.
Все нормально, мам.
Хорошо.
It seemed like the house had changed. The sofa's fabric had become discolored. Fingerprints appeared on the bathroom tiles. The light bulbs also felt different, dimmer and yellower. Even the saliva inside my mouth had a different taste. A melody from Aladdin could be heard from the upper floor. Alia was done rewatching her favorite Little Mermaid episodes and switched to the other tapes. I slowly changed into my home clothes, stopped before the sink, and studied my reflection in the mirror, like I was trying to solve one of those spot the difference puzzles. Then I went upstairs. Jafar's and Iago's voices died down. I walked past Alia's bedroom and slipped into my own. Alright, well, let's save right now. We got lucky. I thought we were gonna die. And we did not. I will use this here. Alright, so I'm going to end it here for now, guys. Thank you all for watching. This has been a very interesting visual novel, and I'm going to continue playing it and see how this chapter ends. So, if anything else, I'll see you all in the next one. Thank you all for watching.